to inform the residents about emerging crime trends and preventive measures. 4, stakeholder partnership. Collaboration was strengthened with community policing groups, Nyumba Kumi initiatives, and private security firms to facilitate information sharing for effective security management. 5, multi-agency coordination. Law enforcement worked closely with the national government administration, officers, other security agencies, and public to build confidence in security efforts. 6, targeted investigations. Specialized units were deployed to conduct thorough investigations leading to the arrest and prosecution of criminals. On the status of investigation to an attempted robbery with violence incident in Miringi-Lira area in Kerugoya town, and the death of one Mr. Murimi who was shot in the incident, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to respond as follows. On 24th of January 2025 at around 9:30 p.m., Gladys Nyambura Njuki, an M-Pesa shop operator in Kerugoya town, closed her business and boarded a motorcycle registration number provided ridden by Eric Minor to her residence in Mudhaika area. Before reaching her destination, they were intercepted by assailants using 2 numberless motorcycles, each carrying a pillion passenger and armed with a pistol. The criminals confronted the complainant, brandishing pistols, and forcibly snatched her handbag while demanding money. Upon hearing a distress call, a resident, Mr. Peter Karimi Kamau, aged 44 years, responded in an attempt to assist. Unfortunately, one of the robbers shot him. They also fired 2 shots into the air to disperse bystanders before fleeing the scene on their motorcycles. Police officers arrived promptly, but criminals had already escaped. At the scene, the police officers recovered 2 spent cartridges and 5 rounds of ammunition. The injured victim was rushed to Kerugoya County Referral Hospital for treatment. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, he succumbed to these injuries the following day, on 25th January 2025. A post-mortem was done and confirmed that he had suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the abdomen. Investigation commenced under the offense of robbery with violence, contrary to Section 2962 of the Penal Code, and the reference is provided. Forensic done at the DCI headquarters by conducting ballistic examination on 2 spent cartridges recovered at the scene of crime, established that the firearm used in this incident had also been linked to the separate robbery with violence case in DCI Ruiru. Mr. Speaker, as now the suspect remain at large and the case is still under active investigation to apprehend those who are responsible. Regarding the long-term plans by the National Police Service to curb insecurity in Kerugoya town and its environs, Mr. Speaker, the government is committed to implementing long-term measures to enhance security and maintain law and order in Kerugoya town and its surrounding areas. The following strategies aim to provide sustainable solutions to crime and insecurity: strengthening the community policing and Nyumba Kumi initiative, increasing, and the more details are provided for in the statement, increasing police presence and patrols, use of technology of crime prevention, especially CCTV cameras, and use of the toll-free emergency number, Fichua kwa DCI, capacity building and training of officers. We provide continuous training for the officers on modern crime-fighting techniques, intelligence gathering, and human rights practices, among others. Number 5, addressing socioeconomic drivers of crime. We would like to collaborate with the local community organization to provide social programs aimed at reducing criminal behavior, improved legal and judicial processes to enhance collaboration between the police and judiciary to ensure that these cases are handled swiftly, enhance intelligence and surveillance operations in the area, strengthening public-private partnership in security, working together with the private firms and the community, and finally, periodic security audits and stakeholder engagement to ensure that we deal with these threats. On the list of police officers who have served in Kirinyaga County over 3 years and their transfer status, Honorable Speaker, the Service Standing Orders, SSO Cap 72, govern the transfer and deployment of police officers. As stipulated, the mandate for deployment lies with the Inspector General, and is not used as a disciplinary measure or reward. Mr. Speaker, additionally, in line with the Maraga Task Force recommendations, officers should not serve in a single station for more than 3 years to enhance their professionalism, mitigate corruption, and ensure optimal service delivery. However, exceptional circumstances allow certain officers to remain in one station beyond this period, including those with medical conditions requiring family support, officers are undergoing disciplinary proceedings, and those nearing retirement who wish to serve closer home. In this regard, we have a total of 30 police officers who have served for more than 3 years in Kerugoya town. Mr. Speaker, on question number 020 by Senator of Tana River County, Honorable Danson Mukatana, on matter of Mr. Isaac Jarso, Mr. Speaker, I wish to respond as follows. On part one of the question, Mr. Speaker, which is the why the killers have not been arrested, I'd like to respond as follows. On 29th of December 2024, at approximately 10:30 hours, a contingent of 23 Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers embarked on an operation to remove cattle and herders who had allegedly settled inside Savo East National Park. During the operation, the Rangers encountered Isaac Abdullah Jarso, now deceased, his family and his friends at his Manyata. When the Rangers attempted to arrest the deceased, an altercation ensued, escalating into a physical confrontation, pitting him and his friends against the Rangers. The scuffles resulted in the fatal shoot of Isaac Abdullah Jarso. At 10:45 hours, Mr. Said Omar, Assistant Chief of Kone Sublocation, reported the incident at Garsen Police Station under OB number provided. Officers from Kone Police Post responded promptly and arrived at the scene, where they found the lifeless body of Isaac Abdullah Jarso, a 42-year-old male. The body had gunshot wounds on the upper right thigh. Investigations commenced under inquiry number 4 of 2024 of DCI Delta, with officers documenting evidence at the scene and recovering 4 spent cartridges. The body was moved to Malindi Sub-County Hospital mortuary for preservation, where postmortem examination conducted, confirming that the cause of death was due to gunshot-inflicted injuries. As part of the investigation, statements were recorded from the key witnesses, including the deceased wife, 2 friends who were with him at the time of the incident, and 2 brothers who arrived after being alerted about the shooting. Additionally, statements were taken from KWS Rangers involved in the operation. To facilitate forensic analysis, all 23 rifles used by the Rangers during the operation were collected and escorted to the forensic laboratory in Nairobi for ballistic examination. The ballistic expert report is yet to be finalized. Once the investigations are concluded, the action will be taken against the KWS officers found culpable in the fatal shooting. Mr. Speaker, regarding when the killers will be arrested, given that similar incident happened in Nakuru, Mr. Speaker, as I said, investigations commenced immediately, and the inquiry was forwarded to the DPP via the number provided dated January 2025. In response, the ODPP, through a letter reference this as provided dated 14 February 2025, directed that several additional matters be established through further investigation, including firearm ballistic report. As stated earlier, appropriate action will be taken against the officers found culpable. On number 3, only why the DCI officers yet to make arrests. Again, Mr. Speaker, the matter is still under active investigation by the DCI, and once concluded, appropriate action will be taken against anyone found culpable of the offense. Every effort is being made to expedite and conclude the investigation to ensure justice is served. Mr. Speaker, regarding when the family of Mr. Jarso will be compensated, Mr. Speaker, compensation for the family for the late Isaac Abdullah Jarso will be subjected to due process depending on the outcome of the investigations. Mr. Speaker, on question number 5 by Honorable Beatrice Ogola, I wish to respond as follows. On part 1, on the level of preparedness on the mitigation of drought and floods, Mr. Speaker, the prolonged 2024 rains resulted in flooding that impacted most parts of the country. A total of 315 people died due to the floods. 58,641 households, representing 293,205 individuals were displaced, and 412 412,262 persons were affected. The flooding caused havoc to roads, bridges, aerodromes, railways, railway lines, school infrastructure, and health facilities. 298,673 acres of agriculture land and 9,367 livestock were washed away. The government and partners supported the affected population with the evacuations and provision of shelter. Cut-off roads and railway lines were reopened. Further, the government distributed 3,798.1 metric tons of relief and other non-food items to affected population. Arising out of this experience, the government has strengthened early warning systems and disaster preparedness for anticipated food flood risks. The government will issue timely alerts besides mobilizing emergency response efforts and awareness creation. The government is investing in climate-resilient infrastructure, flood control measures, and disaster mitigation strategies to reduce vulnerability. This includes improving drainage systems in towns and cities. Number two, on the specific areas that are particularly been mapped out, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say as follows. 3 months weather forecast issued by Kenya Meteorological Department on March, April, and May indicates near to above normal rains for the western part of the country, below normal for the rest of the country. There is therefore likelihood of floods in only 3 counties, Kisumu, Busia, and Tana River. The government has employed the flooding strategies, among others, to mitigate against possible floods. Following strategies, among others, to mitigate against the possible floods. 1, promoting reforestation and soil conservation. 2, rehabilitation of roads. 3, acquisition of food and non-food items in preparedness for that season. 4, mobilizing emergency response efforts. 5, awareness creation among the stakeholders and members of the public. 6, improving drainage systems in towns. 7, developing and regularly updating emergency response to ensure swift and effective actions in event of flooding, including protocols of evacuation in event of flooding. Number 8, fostering collaboration among stakeholders to develop coordinated response to flooding incidents. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on that question, on how much has been set aside for 2024-2025, I'd like to say in the current financial year, the Minister has set aside 40 million for disaster and emergency response. This notwithstanding, the government will mobilize more resources should there be need to do so. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on question number 6, I hope it's finally, yes. By Senator of Turkana, Senator James Lomenen, I'd like to respond as follows. On part 1, regarding the measures in place to mitigate persistent livestock theft and banditry that have plagued Turkana County for decades, Mr. Speaker, the government is committed to addressing the historical challenges of livestock theft and banditry in Turkana County and other regions by implementing several measures. The measures include enhanced security deployment. Mr. Speaker, there is an increased presence now of through specialized units such as anti-stock theft, rapid deployment unit, and general service unit to deter criminal activities. B, strengthening border security, increased patrol along porous border with neighbor countries to prevent cross-border raids and smuggling of stolen livestock. C, strengthening the inter-county and cross-border collaborations, particularly with neighboring counties and countries to prevent movement of stolen livestock and spread conflict across borders. D, recruitment of training and equipping of national police reservists drawn from local communities to complement police efforts in intelligence gathering and security patrols. 5, strict legal action and prosecution of perpetrators. We're working closely with the Office of DPP and the judiciary to ensure swift prosecution of arrested bandits. And 6, disarmament of, or F, disarmament of weapon recovery. There are ongoing efforts to recover illegal firearms through voluntary surrender program and targeted security operations. Mr. Speaker, on part 2, on the different strategies put in place to elevate the unchecked rates that have exacerbated poverty and insecurity in the region, where, Mr. Speaker, I would like to respond as follows. The government has implemented multifaceted approach to address the persistent rates in the region by continuously assessing and adapting strategies to effectively tackle insecurity and restore sustainable peace and development in the region. They include community policing and intelligence gathering, Mr. Speaker, 2, interagency collaboration, with KDF, Ngao, police working together. 3, marking and digitization of livestock identification. In some parts, we have already introduced the livestock branding, microchipping, and digital database to facilitate tracing and recovery of stolen animals. 4, engagement of peace committees and elders, strengthening peace dialogues with community elders, religious leaders, and local administrators to promote conflict resolution, discourage retaliatory attacks, and foster long-term reconciliation among warring communities. 5, continuous training and capacity building of the National Police Service and the NPRs, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that they can respond effectively. And 6, purchase and distribution of new equipment for use by the security personnel, such as drones, mine-resistant and ambush-protected vehicles. Mr. Speaker, on part 3, on whether the government can consider adoption of implementation of modern technology, I'd like to respond as follows, Mr. Speaker. The National Police Service established a committee to oversee the implementation of GIS-based livestock tracking system in collaboration with the consultancy firm, Jibu Cyber Solutions, which was engaged to develop necessary software and infrastructure for livestock registration, movement tracking, and ownership verification. The system has been proposed for rollout in 3 counties in the Rift Valley and 4 counties in the Eastern region. The process has reached the advanced stage with public participation planned to allow Jibu Cyber Solutions to conduct a proof of concept. This will test the feasibility, impact, and adaptability of GIS-based cattle tracking technology, which will be integrated with real-time monitoring. Once fully implemented, the solution will be linked to the existing police service infrastructure at the Integrated Control and Command Center, IC3, to enhance security and response to livestock theft incidents. On part 4, Mr. Speaker, regarding mechanisms that can be implemented to enhance collaboration between Turkana County security agencies and neighboring counties to enforce livestock identification policies and ensure seamless livestock tracking and recovery, I'd like to respond as follows. The government acknowledges the importance of livestock marking for identification and monitoring in the banditry-prone areas, as well as the need for inter-county collaboration in enforcing livestock identification policies and ensuring efficient tracking and recovery of stolen livestock. Our ministry, in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Department, formed a joint committee to oversee the implementation of a GIS-based livestock tracking system. Additionally, to strengthen coordination, various mechanisms have been recommended to enhance cooperation, streamline livestock identification, and improve recovery efforts. They include the strengthening inter-county coordination of livestock management, 2, adoption of livestock identification system, 3, strengthening livestock market regulations, 4, cross-border security and regional cooperation, 5, legal and policy reforms, which includes the punishment and review of the punishment meted on cattle rustlers, among others, and finally, public awareness and sensitization programs. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary. Honorable Senators, we are going to extend for not more than 15 minutes as per the provisions in the standing order. And I shall take, I think it will give us two questions from each side. So whoever is going to catch my eye on this side. No, we don't have time for that. Okay, Senator Chute, you have the first question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm really shocked to hear the answer from the Cabinet Secretary telling this Honorable House that the IDPs in Marsabit were resettled, compensated, and bursaries given to those IDPs. I think the Cabinet Secretary is misled by being told that these people have been resettled. I want the Cabinet Secretary to provide evidence that shows that those IDPs were compensated or resettled or bursaries given. Any evidence that shows that the bursaries were given and by who? Because as far as I know, there were no bursaries given to IDPs. There were no settlement at all. So if there is any evidence The cabinet secretary cannot just tell this
Senator
house.
Chute, you do realize we don't have much time.
Yes.
We've understood your question. Please, let's allow other senators.
Honorable Speaker,
Let us allow
me
other
conclude.
senators
Give
to
me
ask a
30
question.
Seconds, 30 seconds to conclude.
No, Senator, you've taken long enough.
But this is a
We've
very
understood the question.
Honorable Speaker, this is a very serious matter.
We've understood the question. You've made the question very clear. So let
me
it will be
conclude.
answered by the Cabinet Secretary. Just give other senators an opportunity. Senator Beatrice Ogola, under 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. To the Cabinet Secretary, do we have disaster preparedness measures put in place that are gender sensitive because disasters affect genders differently?
Senator Mungatana.
Mr. Speaker, the minister told us that 23 guns on the incident of Tana River in Kone were taken to the for ballistic examination, and the report hasn't come out. What I wanted him to tell us is, what is the capacity at the examinations place, ballistic examinations place? What is the problem? Since January, now we are heading towards March. In fact, very soon we'll be 4 months down the road. Mr. Speaker, what is happening in the ballistic examinations place? Can he do something? Because this issue has caused a lot of tension in Tana River.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Lomenen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I would like to ask the CS, when will he lift the ban, curfew, in between West Pokot and Turkana? Because the former CS for Interior did the same. He said that the curfew has been removed, but up to now the traders are really suffering, and there is no highway robbery in that road.
Thank you. Let us allow the Cabinet Secretary to reply to those 4 questions, and then we'll take some more supplementaries.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. On Senator Chute's response, I was clear that we don't have money for compensation. However, the support that is working together with the CDF of the constituency, among others, some of the affected have been favored in terms of bursaries, including bursaries from the county government. I also want to say that since we don't have money for resettling people, as the statement indicates, the encouragement was to make the conditions better for people to go back to their manyatas in terms of security operations, and then give them a chance to go back. And as a result of the same, a good number of them have gone back. A few are yet to go back. Mr. Speaker, on the evidence of the same, it can be provided to the Honourable Senator in writing for the same. On the question of Honourable Beatrice Ogola, we have been and we will continue being gender sensitive in terms of disaster response. If you see what the government did last year, a lot of focus was on issues that are going to affect women, the needs, specific needs of women, specific needs for children, and this will continue. And we will continue perfecting, our responses based on the experience we get from every year. And I believe that the gender-based sensitive measures are continuing going to be revised to ensure that we are effectively responding to disasters. On Senator Mungatana's question of DCI, indeed, we have a financial challenge and capacity challenge at the DCI, and we are working to address that issue because there is a backlog. If you heard from my report earlier, the situation in Kirinyaga and the one in Tana River, both are still waiting for the report of the ballistic report to come out. But in my last visit, when I went to DCI office, they made certain requests that we are trying to factor in the incoming budget. And I believe that we should be able to make it to expedite the process, because these are 23 guns, so you have to really match each one of them until you find this is the one which was owned by or used by this particular officer. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on the question of Senator Lomenen, We will assess the security situation. We continuously receive intelligence reports about the situation in Turkana, between Turkana and West Pokot, including recent activities around mining areas in Aro and the border. And we still have a dicey situation in some cases, but we lifted the ban as soon as we are ready to do so, and we can work together with local leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Senator Joe Nyutu, under 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am just following up on the question by Senator Murango, question number 1, about the actions that were taken by the ministry following the killing of 2 people. The CS has responded, and they said that they introduced patrols and special operations and many others. Mr. Speaker, then my question is, we were taught I think in lower primary school that prevention is better than cure. So what is the ministry doing to see to it that we have preventive measures other than responsive measures? Because, Mr. Speaker, 1 life lost is 1 too many. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Catherine Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is a follow-up on Senator Beatrice Ogola's question. CS, the time to prepare for disaster or management of the floods in Nyando is now. Properly speaking, the machines for doing the dikes should be happening now. Why do we wait every year, and it is very predictable, for the floods to happen in Nyando, and then we purport to bring in dikes, including our senator purporting to create dikes with his own money, and then the same story of evacuating people? Why can't we build the dikes now, in the next 2 weeks, so that when the rains come, the water is diverted and you don't have to evacuate people?
Senator Sige, under 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In his response to Senator Hamida's question, the Honorable CS made reference to a reallocation of the funds that had been requested to renovate Nyayo House. I do not know whether the Honorable CS is aware that the basement to that particular building, which is actually an exit and entry to the lifts, is in a sorry state. There is leaking water or sewerage that is a serious health hazard. And secondly and lastly, whether the CS in his comment about the Maraga Task Force recommendation has plans to implement that particular report, and if so, when will that be implemented in the police force?
Those are 2 questions, Senator. So, Senator Mandago, final question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Mine is not a question, but I'd like to ask the CS that it looks like there are too many incidences associated with KWS officers. We had an incident in Nakuru. We had an incident in Tana River. Probably your ministry should put a little bit of focus on the officers. And finally, Honorable Speaker, I request the CS probably if we could visit Marsabit just to assess the situation. And
very
sure
well, Senator.
The other Manyatas have police come so that they can go back.
You're only supposed to ask 1 question, so the CS will only answer 1 question. Senator Kavindu, final question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is to ask Honorable CS about insecurity. This is insecurity that Senator Murango is asking about is not only in Murang'a, but also in Machakos. We have a lot of insecurity, especially in a place called Matungulu, Machakos County, and other small areas. What are you doing about it? And also transfers of the police, which have been in our station for more than 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Cabinet Secretary, you can respond. You only have 5 minutes to respond.
Thank you. I will be as brief as possible, Mr. Speaker. On the question of preventive measures in Kirinyaga, we have listed them in the statement on some of the preventive measures we apply, including preparation, early preparations, working with local community, strengthening Nyumba Kumi, intelligence gathering, training of the officers. So all of them are listed in the statement already, Mr. Speaker. On the question of Senator Muma, I agree with her that this is the time to do so. And this is not just a role that is played by national government. County government also has a responsibility. And to be fair, the county government last year did some good job working together with the national government. The only challenge we continue facing as a country is budgetary constraints. But to agree with you, because now Kisumu is one of the areas that is forecasted to have higher than normal rains, it is important for us to do what we need to do now. And I think we will do everything humanly possible within the budget that we have to do so. On Senator Sigei's on Nyayo actually is, to be honest, Nyayo needs urgent attention, particularly when it comes to the lifts. Anybody who, I have an office there, so I get stuck in the lift many times. So I have a personal experience, including using the basement you've talked about, leaking and so forth. But then when you have a budget situation on austerity measures, you are struggling between providing social services, health, and others, and renovations. And that's why we are facing the situation we are facing. But we will continue working to see what we'll do with Nyayo House. But I agree with Senator Sigei. And also that in the Maraga report, Mr. Speaker, we are implementing Maraga report in total, including already improved salaries to police officers of a lower cadre. These issues about transfer is being worked out, among many other things. And I think I'll have an opportunity in future to come and expound further because this is a very important report for us, as was the first task force that the President established when he came to office. On the question of Senator Mandago, indeed I'm going to Marsabit soon, and I'll inform the Senator of Marsabit so that we can have a personal view. There are many things that have been happening in Marsabit. We've done massive operation in Marsabit to deal with the issues of OLA and also drugs and many other things. So we will have an opportunity to visit with him so that we can see what's happening. On the KWS issue, indeed, it was of great concern for us what happened in Tana River and Nakuru. And I think we have been in conversation with the DG KWS. We will enhance this conversation between Kenya National Police Service and KWS to see whether there is a problem somewhere that needs to be dealt with among the officers that serve in KWS to ensure that we avert such situations in the future. And finally, I agree with Senator Kavindu, Agnes, that it is true that Machakos, we have had challenges in Matungulu, but those challenges, Mr. Speaker, were also related to criminal gangs, which are owned by politicians in the Matungulu area. And Mr. Speaker, like we have tried to do so across the country, we have been feeling the resurgence of political gangs or criminals posing as political gangs and pretending to be working with politicians across the country, in Western, in Rift Valley, in Mombasa, in Machakos, Matungulu area, among others. And Mr. Speaker, we are dealing with it. We will, I promise that we will dismantle these gangs, including in Matungu in Kakamega County. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary, and it was nice to have you, and looking forward to have you again. Honorable Senators, it is now 1:15 p.m. and having concluded the business for which I extended the hours of sitting pursuant to Standing Order 34-2A, the Senate stands adjourned until today, later today, 5th March 2025 at 2:30 p.m.